shredding the fabric of reality, peering directly into the deep, black, sinister shadows between galaxies. Brace yourselves for a roller coaster of sonic brutality. We are 665.66 UHMR Chemrat Radio, coming to you live tonight from Mama Kaz's Noodle House.
We're keeping warm with Mama's new Inferno Nova Hot Pot, the best way to keep the hive chill away. Razor ice storms have torn across Innsmouth's shield walls, destroying and clogging the West Viridium heat exchangers, and plunging temperatures all across the Underhive, with scattered snowstorms reported along the Sump and Hive Wall border districts.
We sit on a massive geothermal reactor linked directly to the planet's core, and the cogboys can't even seem to keep the heat running smoothly.
As if low temperatures inside the Underhive weren't enough, reports of flash freezes across the Frost Hollow have stirred up the four-armed emperors once again. Mutilated and partially fed-on bodies were found in the lower Fessick and Karsten Habstacks, with further attacks and sightings being reported in the Rauschip Downs thermal districts.
Bounty boards will be full up again. Looks like there really is no rest for the wicked.
Hydric Garra's blood might be cool looking, is very mesmerizing when it moves on the floor, but man, does that four-armed Emperor Icar stain. It's time to mix some household chemicals.
What are you cooking and like Breaking Bad down there? What's going on? I am the master of mischief and mayhem on these Pirate Vox waves, Goblin King. Here with my co-host, the vocal enchantress whose tones can soothe your soul or shatter your senses, our very own screen queen, Emmy.
Try the new Ghost Pepper Hot Pot at Mama Kaz's Noodle House. It's an exclusive collaboration with my band, Ghosts Don't Have Morals. It'll make your taste buds scream.
Ready to blaze away with both barrels, especially if it means getting his hands on some of those fresh specimens. It's our very own rogue Archaeo hunter, Chac.
Hey guys, and if you really need to warm up, those ghost peppers come in suppository form too.
Into the bloodstream faster. And advising us on the best ways to eliminate Radiker and deal with hot pot stains, it's our very own Maharaja of Mopping, Drew.
Hello, everybody. I want to say that I think there is either a very small four-armed emperor or a very large six-armed rat, and it is loose somewhere in the studio and keeps stealing things. I am naming him Carlisle, and I will catch him.
Are you going to do a version of the Rat Killer song by Charlie from Always Sunny for us at some point?
I was thinking more of like the gopher from Caddyshack. Yeah, right? Like that. He's like just like a mischievous rascal. Yeah. He's like unplugging things unnecessarily all the time and stuff. Yeah. And we can start blaming like technical malfunctions on Carlisle getting involved. Yeah, it's like Carlisle chewed through the wires again.
God damn
what
it.
A little asshole.
Yeah.
Welcome to Under the Hive of Madness, episode 120, Darkness on the Horizon, part 2. Before we continue to explore the events of the Horus Heresy, did you know that you can watch this episode right now? That's right. If you head on over to patreon.com/Under the Hive of Madness and join at any of our legacy tier or normal tiered levels, you get access not only to a Patreon exclusive episode that is also a video. It's about an hour long, but you can watch this podcast as a video. You can see our beautiful faces, watch as we stumble over words, forget the English language and laugh at ourselves a lot, and also see some of the cool pictures that we pull up in relation to the episode we are talking about. To catch you guys up a little bit, last episode in part 1 of Darkness on the Horizon, we took a look at some of the actions of the Raven Guard and Corvus Corax as they made moves to put their Shattered Legion back together. Our next major milestone takes us back to the Dark Angels and fills in some of the missing time from the Thramis Crusade against the Night Lords. If you're wondering what that's about, we covered it a couple of episodes ago in our last Horus Heresy miniseries of content.
So I just want to point out one thing. So if you're listening to this as a podcast and don't have the visuals on the screen, we've got the book up, Legends of the Dark Angels, which has a now classic 40K Dark Angels armor color, which is the dark green. But we are talking heresy. And I just want to point out that the Dark Angels were black with red accents back in Heresy. And the Deathwing was not white Terminator armor. They were black armor like everything else. So things change in 40K from the old Heresy colors.
So first off, we are going to jump into the Battle of Purdus in 008.M31. The battle began when the Primarch of the Dark Angels Legion, Lionel Johnson, forces acted on intelligence gained from a nearby astropathic message, interrupting a ground battle between the forces of Iron Hands, Iron Father Lasco Medoa, and Death Guard Captain Callus Typhon. The battle had been waging for 38 days on the planet when the Iron Hands spotted the Dark Angels making orbit, but they were unable to contact them directly because of comm-dampening electronic countermeasures. The Iron Hands had prepared to intercept the Death Guard ships in orbit while making an assault to take advantage of the situation, breaching the Death Guard's ground defenses and taking one of their positions. This provoked Typhon, forcing an action while attempting to free the sentient engine known as the Tuchulcha. So this is how the conflict started. Sorry, a little bit of context there. The the Dark Angels show up in orbit 38 days after the battle began. The battle began because the Iron Hands essentially attempted to intercept the Death Guard in orbit before making it to the planet. They missed their opportunity, which led to them essentially being able to breach the Death Guard on the ground and take one of their positions or a couple of their positions.
Oh, look at that. The Iron Hands fucking up again. Come on, guys.
This provoked Typhon, forcing an action while attempting to free the sentient engine known as the Tuchulcha. As the fighting intensified, the Lion declared the planet under his protection and ordered everyone on the planet to leave. Both sides actually responded immediately and started to retreat. There were a lot more Dark Angels in orbit than anything else. However, Typhon knew that there had to be a reason for the Lion's arrival, and he tapped into the warp with his psychic powers, determining that the Dark Angels were using their librarians to cower both forces. Typhon then protected the minds of his grave wardens. So he was basically like, why is everybody leaving so fast? And then he found out, okay, the librarians are helping a little bit. And he's like, I have the father's power because Grandfather Nurgle is going through his system already. I'm going to counteract this. As Typhon led a charge against the Iron Hands, the Lion responded by ordering torpedoes to be launched, prompting Typhon to back down and order a withdrawal. As soon as the threat was real, the overwhelming orbital threat, Typhon backs down. Before the Death Guard captain made contact with the Dark Angels via Vox. Okay, so question for you guys. When we're just saying Johnson, do we say L. Johnson or do we say Johnson?
I think we say L. Johnson, or I
L.
think you could just
Johnson.
say the Lion is probably good.
I think saying the Lion
problem is when you write a script and you're talking about the Lion, it will literally be the Lion, next sentence, the Lion, next sentence, the Lion. So I was like, I'm going to use his last name.
Yeah. But it is L. Johnson. It's not Johnson.
Okay,
no,
okay.
It's L.
guys,
Johnson.
His name is Lionel.
Lionel. Yeah. Lionel.
Lionel. Like Lionel
like
Miranda.
the poet.
His name is Lionel. Like, that's the joke. He's Lionel Johnson.
But
just call him Lionel.
They had to change it.
just like Robert Gilliman became Rabute. You know, they always had to put the funny little accent on it, you know?
Well, because and the reason is because a bunch of the Primarch's original names was just GW taking the piss out of people.
Mm-hmm.
The Primarch of the Dark Angels responded by ordering the Death Guard to pull back except for Typhon and his guards and await a parley. The Dark Angels Primarch then landed with 1,000 of his men to speak to Medoa, Typhon, and the Mechanicum all directly. The Lion came to the High Magos Kira Doth Ixius, overseer of the Magellix and custodian of the Tuchulcha, who then welcomed the Primarch to the planet and asked to follow him into the facility. Medoa and Typhon were escorted elsewhere by the Dark Angels party and then proceeded after their Primarch into the Tuchulcha's chamber. Yeah. There we go.
Tuchulcha.
This wasn't the Primarch's first visit to this chamber, deep beneath the surface, and he remembered slaughtering machine cultists who worshipped Tuchulcha the last time he had made contact here. On the way, the lion noticed that Ixius had an electric tattoo, for those of you wondering what that crazy super word is, of an Ouroboros dragon eating its own tail, which Ixius said was part of a symbol for the Order of the Dragon, a now defunct organization. Upon reaching the chamber, the lion found Tuchulcha, an orb 1.7 meters in diameter, which seemed to be watching him. Unlike before, the orb now had two protrusions, only a few centimeters in length from each pole. A small boy servitor lay before the device with pipes connecting him to the machine, and it was through this boy which the Tuchulcha spoke. The lion questioned it, surprised at its ability to communicate through the puppet, and that it recognized him. The machine said that he was the everything, was the everywhere, and once servant of the deadly seas, before becoming friend of the Mechanicum. Oh, so Tuchulcha's talking some heavy shit about his past here. He's like, hey, I am the Alpha and the Omega and the seas. I'm like, what? What does the fuck does that mean? The Dark Angel's Primarch responded that the machine was dangerous, but then Tuchulcha told him that the lion wouldn't destroy the machine because the Primarch did not truly desire to destroy the machine. There's some fucking hubris right there. You ain't gonna break me, bro. You don't have the willpower to break me. You don't want to do it. Just sit down. Just take that chair right there. But yeah, this boy servitor is essentially a dead body, by the way.
Yeah. I know, it's really fucked up. I sent you that TikTok I made of me and my really good Lionel Johnson cosplay.
That's right.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty remarkable. Have we gotten to what are we going to get more into what the Tuchulcha is? I had always assumed that the thing was
an old one,
artifact,
right?
Yeah, like it was like
so
it was specifically an AI that was made by the old ones, by the Slan.
It's an old one's super weapon. What we covered in the Thramas Crusade, like probably about 7-ish episodes ago, if you guys recall.
I remember.
Dark Angels are fighting the Night Lords. There's a bunch of back and forth, pushing this way and that way, and then the Dark Angels just fuck off. Like randomly, they completely leave. The entire force leaves, and the Night Lords are like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah,
and they're gone for a couple of months, and then they pop back up with the Tuchulcha, and they use the Tuchulcha to essentially warp their entire fleet, like into a really bad position, like, where essentially the Night Lords are screwed, and that's what allows the Dark Angels to defeat the Night Lords. And in that episode, we talked about the fact that the Tuchulcha, this thing is one of 3 super weapons built by the old ones. And this particular one allows you to make really, really precise warp jumps. As to where a normal warp jump, you're like, it's like GPS from the 90s, give or take 7,000 meters. This allows you to, like, within a couple of centimeters of your target. And it allows you to move almost instantaneously. So it's an instant warp jump at a much more, like, directly minute level of accuracy. It was said that if you got all 3 of these items together, you would have, like, ultimate control over all time and space. So essentially, like, you became a type 3 civilization on the Karnowski scale, and you didn't have to deal with any of this bullshit anymore. You'd be like, time is an illusion, as is space.
Yeah, you just transcend it.
Yeah. Inspector Space-Time would be all over this shit.
Community reference 1.
Mr. Who. We might be getting the movie.
Mr. Who. That's right.
# 6 seasons in a movie.
The Tuchulcha went on to explain that the lion caused it fear. However, the lion questioned how the machine knew of the battles that had happened above, and it responded that its mind was able to touch all of theirs. So whatever the Tuchulcha is can essentially, like, reach out with its brain and touch everybody fighting around it. So it's not observing what's happening. It's like skimming everyone's surface thoughts, which is kind of creepy.
Super creepy.
And this thing's afraid of the lion. Like, just to lay that out there. But in L. Johnson's mind, when it touched it, it saw that he carried a heavy burden of guilt along with him. When the Primarch turned to the Magos Ikiask, asking the machine's use and why it had been spared, in response, Tuchulcha demonstrated its teleportation power, shifting the throne room of the Invincible Reason and translating the whole ship into the warp. Alarms blared into life as the act both appalled and surprised the Lion, who demanded that Tuchulcha explain how translation was possible so close to the system's star, with Iexia responding that the machine didn't have to worry about such concerns. The Lion decided to make peace and politely asked the machine to return them to real space back on the planet. So, he's like, hey, bro, why the fuck would you keep this thing around? And before the guy can even respond, the machine's like, oh, let me warp us onto your command ship and then warp your command ship somewhere into the random portion of the warp.
I like it. I also like how his response was, oh shit, we out of our depth here, folks. We do have to negotiate with the alien superintelligence.
Yeah. Like all of a sudden he's suing for peace. Yeah. But again, the only reason he's able to do it is because this machine, for whatever reason, is actually afraid of L. Johnson at the same time.
Yeah.
Huh.
Paladin Captain Corswain and L. Johnson then discussed the nature of the situation and the parley in his chambers. The Lion could not tell what Typhon's full agenda was, and he was unsure why the Iron Hands were even present. He also mused that their legion was not as inconsequential as he had once assumed. So at this point, the Lion knows about the drop site massacre and knows how damaged the Iron Hands are. And he's like, wait a minute, there's a lot more of them here than I thought were still left alive, essentially. The Primarch then went to meet with the two commanders, questioning each in an attempt to discover their goals. So he's got Typhon of the Death Guard, obvious traitors, next to Medoa of the Iron Hands, obvious loyalists, in the same room. Like, these dudes are sitting in a room waiting. This is the amount of command that L. Johnson is able to wrestle from these guys. You are not going to fight on my fucking ship. You are not going to fight on the fucking planet. You're going to hold your shit until I can figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Typhon responded that he was there to take the warp device for Horus. He was there for the Tuchulcha, stating that it was expected for the Dark Angels to continue their quarrel with the Night Lords for a time before eventually being won over to the War Master's side. Horus assumed that the Dark Angels were going to go traitor. The Lion responded by pointing out that Typhon didn't mention Mortarion at all, and that Typhon served his own ambitions. Additionally, it was not Horus who ordered Typhon there, and Horus would not wish direct war with the Dark Angels. So he questions and challenges everything Typhon tells him.
Naturally.
The Lion then turned to Medoa and questioned his purpose. Medoa explained that he was part of the 406th Expedition Fleet and was not part of the drop site massacre, which had taken place 6 to 9 months before. They met with the Ultramarines at Ojanus, then were dispatched by Gilliman to protect Perditus, thank you, and the device from the traitors. Medoa stated that he believed it should be taken to McCraig for safety. Hearing both sides, the Dark Angels Primarch ordered the planet to be destroyed, which brought protests from both commanders. The Lion then pointed out that he too received a summons from Gilliman, but he did not trust the other Primarchs before dismissing both commanders. A lot of political power play happening in this entire conflict.
Mm-hmm.
It is really interesting. I love the notion that, like, you have these two very powerful, like, Space Marine factions who are battling with one another, and he shows up and they're just like, guys, we have to stop. Dad is here.
Right,
he's like, I don't care if you are having a war rebellion fight here, boys. We need to talk about this weird space superintelligence and he's just like sit down. Who punched who first? Like, it's fucking wild.
He's on my side of the car. Well, and Chac, as the Dark Angels guy, this is the time where no one knows where the Dark Angels are going to fall, right? Like, that's part of the thing.
Yeah, I mean, the Dark Angels knew. Well, L.
Which
Johnson
ones?
knew.
Which ones?
Yeah, half of them turned traitor eventually. Oops, spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
What happened to Caliban, kids? Nothing bad.
We'll get
Nothing.
there.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Medoa left for the fastidious prosecutor. These warship names, y'all.
I think that's pretty dope.
It's great. I mean, you have to say that with a British accent there, like, Yes, the
The
fastidious,
fastidious
prosecutor. You have to say it like that.
with the
Like-
at the end.
Yes, rather the fastidious prosecutor.
While you're
Like,
twirling your
It's
mustache.
a very, like, I don't know, it's Major Gilbert and Sullivan vibes for me.
Love it.
All right. Madoa left for the fastidious prosecutor and Typhon for the terminus est. Theroline Fianna, chief navigator of the Dark Angles. Ryan.
Listen, there's the Dark Angels and there's the Dark Angles. Okay. Chac just mentioned it. Okay.
It's true. Chief navigator of the Dark Angels then contacted her Primarch, explaining that they felt something burrowing through the warp towards the planet. As the Invincible Reason prepared for combat, Typhon warped from the Terminus Est down to the Tuchulcha's chamber, where he slaughtered the adepts and Skitarii, even as he felt the effects of warp rotting his insides. Forcing it down and to calm, he entered the chamber and was about to kill a robed adept when the puppet asked him not to do so. The boy, the corpse boy,
The movie by Guillermo del Toro.
just context and how fucked up this is. The corpse boy then told Typhon that there wasn't much time before L. Johnson would return. Typhon then offered the Tuchulcha freedom, but it laughed in response, saying it awaited the Primarch's return. Daddy's almost back. Calm your tits, Typhus. Before it forced Typhon to be teleported back to the Terminus Est with its remaining men. Oh my god, I love this. It's like, you can have freedom, and it's like, you and what authority, bitch boy? Go back to your ship. So good. I love
I'm here
this.
to talk to your boss.
Yeah. I'm waiting for daddy. Go sit down. I love it.
Uncle.
Yeah,
Cool party uncle.
that's right.
Cool party uncle.
Lionel Johnson's a cool party uncle of Space Marines. Everyone knows.
Yeah, he's definitely the one who would, like, you know, you can drink at my house.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Just don't tell
yeah.
your dad.
Don't tell your dad. I would rather you do it at my house than anybody else's. Right. Later, Typhon reflected on his failed mission before realizing that he had succeeded when he received a third blister mark of favor. On the Iron Hand ship, Madoa told Iron Captain Kazalier Loramek that the Lion had a message from Gilliman. I am coming.
Has anybody seen the movie The Limey, by the way? Every time I get, like, it's a fantastic film. There's a scene where basically this guy is badass. He goes into a warehouse and beats a bunch of people up, except for the last guy. He leaves him surviving to go tell the boss. And he's just screaming, "Tell him I'm coming! Tell him I'm fucking coming!" So this is what I imagine what Gilliman is doing.
Is this the movie with Tom Hardy in it?
I don't think Tom Hardy's in this one.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I was thinking of it. Maybe I'm thinking of a different one.
Carry on.
The Invincible Reason, which again you have to say, the Invincible Reason, then took the Tuchulchas and the Magos Ixus aboard as the planet was destroyed. L. Johnson knew that he now had a power that would turn the Thramis Crusade, and that Kurz would soon be his with some careful planning, and he spoke to a shadow that could not be heard in response. He also expressed his concern that Gilliman was either misguided or a traitor, and that none were worthy to inherit the title of emperor. Ultimately, only mutual annihilation could prevent the spread of war. Amen. The small, robed creature appeared from the shadow, and the lion stated that it was too important to stop this growing civil conflict. Caliban would have to wait. Following the battle, the Dark Angels would pursue Typhon's fleet as the traitors left a trail of destroyed worlds in their wake.
Hey guys, they should not have waited on Caliban.
Yeah, but essentially he makes the command decision that Luther can be left to his own devices for a bit. That it's more important to attempt to stop Horus. But at the same time,
well, he didn't think that Luther was turning traitor.
Yeah. Well, he just knew that. Well, so at the same time, and good point, Chac, because at the same time, like the Lion hasn't chosen a side. He doesn't have enough information. So He knows that there's stuff happening on Caliban that he's not super happy with, and he knows that he's fighting with the Night Lords. But and this is not to say, when I say he hadn't chosen a side yet, the important part was he didn't have enough information. He
Right.
doesn't know what the depth of the traitor's actions are. He just knows that Horus and the Emperor are fighting each other.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, like we don't know about the demons and shit yet.
yeah, he don't know about the demons.
He doesn't
Yeah,
know
there you go.
about, like Fulgrim murder fucking his way across the galaxy.
Yeah.
He doesn't know about,
Lorgar and Erebus doing whatever the fuck they're doing.
yeah.
Contrary to popular belief, the bad guy army normally doesn't name itself the bad guy army.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's the level we're at. When you look at Warhammer 40K lore from the perspective of the tabletop, it's very cut and dry that like my men on my side are fighting your people on your side. My war dollies are fighting your war dollies. My war dollies are my side, your war dollies are your side. And that the truth of a lot of the lore, especially at this point, because this is the point where all of the Primarchs are making a decision as to what side they're going to
Mhm.
fall on. A lot of them really don't know what's going on. They know that there's fighting happening. They know that civil unrest is happening, and they know that it's already been pretty bad. But, put yourself in L. Johnson's shoes, where he's probably heard from survivors of Istvan 5 massacre, oh, it's horrible, they're slaughtering us left and right. And then he's hearing from Horus's side, that's not what happened. Like, it was a misunderstanding. They fired on us first. We had to defend ourselves. Whatever propaganda is happening is being spewed. And then, the Lion is basically like, okay, well, I need more information. Before I make a decision, I need more information.
Yeah. I remember this time he had sent his adopted father, Luther, back to Caliban to take care of business there. Luther thinks he's being exiled back to Caliban. And the Marines the Dark Angels that are on Caliban thinks they're being slighted because they're not out
Collecting glory.
Yeah. Crusading. But he has no idea that there's a rat in his own house. So he doesn't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
And I didn't get the thing with the little guy. I know who the little guy is. I can't remember them, but I forget what he said. Did he say that there was problems on?
He doesn't say anything.
Yeah, he doesn't say
It's
anything. He just shows up.
It's just the Lion talking to him, basically.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then the Watcher disappears. As far as we know, the Watcher just melts back into the shadow. From a cinematic point of view, if you were to film this scene, there would be some really cool ways to play with it, especially in the like creeping horror existential dread standpoint, because you could literally, up to this point in the movie, depict the Lion as this very like fractured character who's fighting between like his sense of duty and the fact that he just found this like maddening alien artifact. And then there's just this sequence, kind of you film him from behind and he's just staring into the corner of a room, like ranting at it. He's just getting rid of all of this aggravation at a dark shadow. And like, as the audience, this slow scene, the audience is just like, oh, dude, this guy's fucking crazy. This guy's gone full Nick Cage. And then like towards the last line, this little dude waddles out. And you're like, oh, he was talking to something? No, I'm even more confused.
He was never known. The Lion was never known as like one of the great strategists or one of the great thinkers. He was the person you aimed at a problem when you wanted the problem to go away. Or even better, when you wanted the problem to never have existed.
Yeah, he was the fixer. He was like,
he was the party uncle we just talked about.
Cool party uncle. Cool party uncle.
As I've said in other ones, Leman Russ is the one that you send when you want to make an example of somebody. You sent the Dark Angels and the Lion when you want the problem to never have existed.
I will disappear your entire family. That's the Lion.
Or planet, or race, or portion of the galaxy.
Right. The Battle of Umbral 51. The battle was a sub-campaign of the Greater
Perditus,
thank you, theater. While Lionel Johnson sought to claim the mechanic as relics on Perditus before the Iron Hands and Death Guard did, the Dark Angels Knight Preceptor Vendrahl, thank you.
It should be Vendrail.
Vendrail.
Yeah, Vendrail.
Whose command included the Order of the Broken Claws and the Legion's 79th Company, was sent to claim relics in Umbral 51's Archaeo vaults. Despite the Primarchs ordering them to stand down, the Iron Hands and Death Guard forces there had refused to stop fighting for the vaults. Essentially, Johnson's not in orbit with a massive force ready to shoot. So those guys are like, yeah, fuck you. You're not here. What are you going to do? You can't stop us. When his forces landed, however, it was the Traitor Legion that Vendrahal ordered his forces to attack, overwhelming the Death Guard before Umbral 51's Mechanicus forces unleashed their Imperial robots in order to kill all invaders. At that point, the Mechanicus had no fucking clue what was going on and just said, I don't fucking care, murder everything on the planet. Like, I'm done. I can't deal with this anymore, essentially. The Death Guard's forces shattered, only their commander and a few survivors escaping before they raced towards the vault's gates. Shortly afterward, the Dark Angels were able to destroy the Imperial robots before they turned to pursue the fleeing traitors. Despite the Death Guard's head start, the Dark Angels were able to cut them off before they could open the vault's gates. The two sides then faced each other, Paladin and Idrith, stepping forward to challenge the Death Guard's commander to an honor duel. The Centurion, Kudus Burkar, laughed at this and instead used his chem flamer to reduce Enidreth's body to ash. Enraged, Venedral and the Broken Claws then charged the Death Guard, and the forces clashed for possession of the vaults. In the end, the Centurion was killed by the Knight Preceptor, and the Death Guard was destroyed in the battle's aftermath. Venedral knelt over Bekar's body and whispered the names of the Dark Angels who had died, adhering to his order's rites of remembrance. Venedril then met with Umbral's Mechanicus and Tech Priests, who resentfully handed over their relics, seeing that Venedril bore a seal of the pact between their two factions, that of the Emperor of Mankind and Mars. Afterward, the Order of the Broken Claws deemed Umbral 51 to be too dangerous to be left behind, leaving behind clusters of tectonic bombs and igniting them as they left, burying Umbral 51 and its tech priests and countless technological artifacts under tons of metal and rock. Another thing to kind of keep in mind is that there are Mechanicus strongholds at this point that don't know that Mars and Earth are aligned. This wasn't the case here, but even into like the 32nd and 33rd millennia, as we'll cover when we talk about like the rise of the beast and stuff like that, the Mechanicus is still very much Mars first.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really look at it that way in 40K, which is weird because they still very much are Mars first.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
like this is a time where the Mechanicum is essentially like one of the reasons the Mechanicum is hoarding all of these weird teleportation technologies is they're kind of wondering how to teleport all of their planets to one system or to one area of the galaxy so they can just turn it into a giant fort and not play with anybody. The Mechanicum is trying to figure out how to take their balls and go home.
Which is funny because they already did that with Olinar.
Not yet.
Oh, not
Not
yet?
yet.
That hadn't happened yet?
Olinor hasn't been moved yet. Yeah.
Okay.
It does get moved. What are you talking about? Olinor was destroyed. That other planet, Armageddon, has nothing to do with it. But yeah, I believe, and we're kind of, this is an out of sequence thing, but I believe the movement of Olinor happens after the Mechanicum reverse engineers some of the technology of the beast. So I'm pretty sure that's like
I thought it happened still during the
33-ish thing.
Oh, okay. So it happened after the Battle of the Beast. It didn't happen
Yes.
during the Great Crusade. Gotcha.
The Underground War, Calth, 008.M31. The Battle of Calth took place in 007.M31 as the Word Bearers treasonously struck at the Ultramarines in an attempt to destroy the Loyalist Legion before it could intervene in the Horus Heresy. Even with the weight of Word Bearers, great numbers of Chaos cults, Dark Mechanicum forces, and other traitor elements, the Ultramarines refused to give up. Even as the Loyalists suffered massive losses, they managed to rally and counterattack, turning the tide of war. However, the traitors had other goals, including the ritual that awakened the Ruin Storm, allowing the Word Bearers to strike at the very sun of Calth's own Viridius system. We covered the Battle of Calth in a 3-episode deep dive last season if you want more on this story. While the Ultramarines would be able to prevent the sun from going nova, the star was irreversibly poisoned and began to strip away Calth's atmosphere with lethal radiation. While the traitor force in the Void withdrew, they left most of their ground forces behind to their fates. Primarch Lorgar had deliberately selected word bearers for the invasion who he considered unreliable or replaceable. This is kind of like what just happened in some massive tech layoffs this week. It was TurboTax, Intuit, QuickBooks. They just laid off 1,050 employees. And after they laid off literally a third of their workforce, they were like, these were all bottom performers. And people are like, at this point, en masse, like boycotting QuickBooks. And it's really ugly, guys. Anyways, tangent over.
We talked about why Logar did this a couple of episodes ago. Emmy, Drew, and I believe, specifically kind of got a little deeper into this. I know Emmy and I got deeper into it.
Yes,
I know
we did.
I'm pretty sure everyone was here, but I remember Emmy and I getting deeper into it. This was like Logar didn't do the Ishtvan 3 thing and the Ishtvan 5 thing because he pretty much knew that everybody in his legion followed it. He had 40 years to weed out the weaklings, but he definitely had people that were too zealous and too uncontrollable. And he's like, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I'll leave you on Calth.
And Erebus had a good amount to do with Ishtvan 3. Like,
yes,
he was the one who, like, sort of psychic projected these, like, ghosts of Christmas future visions into people's brains and was like, hey, this is the grimdark far future. I'm not going to get into context, but basically, meet me at Ishtvan 3. I have a surprise.
And the Ongorbak and Erebus and Corferon were all at Calth, but Erebus and the Ongorbak were on planet doing the Runestorm ritual. And as soon as the Runestorm ritual was over, they teleported back to space. And then
because they knew fully well what was going to happen.
Yeah, they just left. This is the time period of the legions. So we're talking like 40,000 word bearers abandoned on the planet. We're not talking about like 500 Marines. We're talking like 40,000, like more than a third of the legion just left behind on purpose.
Yep.
Class act.
Primarch Rabute Gilliman ordered an evacuation of the system as completely as possible in the short time they had left to chase after the word bearers. So there's the difference between the loyalists and some of these dicks and the chaos is, as much as Rabute has his own issues, at least he's not leaving his own men behind.
Trying not to. He's trying to minimize casualties, whereas these guys are like, you guys didn't hit your KPIs this quarter, so yeah. The Ultramarines and the other loyalist contingents left on Calth were ordered to seek shelter in Calth's gargantuan cavern system, and Gilliman promised to eventually return and extract them. The remaining loyalists rallied under the leadership of Captain Remus Ventanus, savior of Calth, and the Ultramarines took action to save as many civilian survivors as possible. Calth possessed a massive natural subterranean cavern system, which had been further expanded into arcologies, areas designed to act as cities for future population growth. Enough space existed in these caverns to support entire armies beneath the world's now toxic surface. Loyalist Mechanicum troops, mostly the remnants of Archmagos Kron Barbarel's Tagmata Omnissiah, joined the Ultramarines in the deeps. Being less affected by the radiation, the Mechanicum contingents helped to cover the retreat into the underground. But this withdrawal wasn't without violence, as the remaining word bearers followed the Loyalists into the caverns, and so began the Underground War. So in arcology, which we talked about way back when we did our episode on hives and what a hive city is, an arcology essentially is like a micro hive. An ecology is a place where, and they exist, they're a thing that kind of exists now. They are a place where you can work, where all of your needs are met. So your living needs are met, your working needs are met, your entertainment needs are met, and your consuming needs are met. So you can shop there, you can, you never leave the property that you live on. you work at the same place, you buy your food at the same place, and all of this. So an arcology is like it's like a micro hive, essentially.
Sure.
And all of these arcologies on Calth will become hive cities. Well, the ones that survive will become hive cities. They're just basically like a good example of an arcology, as we're talking about all this stuff, is if you've ever seen the film Resident Evil by Paul W.S. Anderson, the hive is an arcology. Everybody who works for the Umbrella Corporation in the hive lives, works, and eats down there. They are all in an arcology. And in a certain respect, Raccoon City is also technically part of the same arcology.
I think it's pretty awesome that Raccoon City was eventually portrayed by the city of Toronto, whose mascot is, of course, a raccoon.
Trash panda.
I was thinking about this the other day. I was wondering whether or not the authors in Japan specifically did that.
They love
I mean,
raccoons.
it'd be an odd choice. Like, Toronto is such an inconsequential place otherwise.
Yeah.
But being honest with you, like, it's not a place where like big biotechnology anything's happening.
Well, I mean, that's the whole point of Raccoon City in the Resident, not that this is a Resident Evil podcast, but in the Resident Evil like storyline, it's this inconsequential place nobody thinks is hiding this secret.
Right, that's true.
Toronto, what do you have to answer for? Anyway, sorry.
Good food. If you want good food, go to Toronto.
The word bearers and their allies made quick work of conquering a number of arcologies, turning them into fortified holdouts, even as other word bearer warbands began to operate as guerrillas, moving among the caverns to ambush loyalists. The remaining traders were even more cut off from any aid from the loyalists, relying on salvage and scavenging provided essential supplies to continue their war. So very important, the Calth system, the Viridia system, the system that Calth is still in control of the loyalists. The traitors fled. So, and Calth is in the realm of Ultramar. The fiefdoms of Ultramar, I believe, is what they're called at this point in history. They're not called the realms of Ultramar yet. The loyalists technically could still be getting orbital drops or getting reinforcements or being able to pull people off planet, as to where the word bearers are literally fucking stranded. So they need to steal everything they need. Contact among the scattered loyalist and traitor groups often proved difficult, and many became effectively isolated. So not able to really communicate. As much as I just said the loyalists could get things from off planet, is a very big could. It's a bold, italicized in quotation marks. Essentially, the deeper these arcologies are, the farther away they are from the surface, or if they're in areas that are just more inhospitable, they're just certain loyalist held arcologies can't contact each other, let alone anybody in orbit. And the same is happening for the traitors. The initial months of the Underground War saw traitors commit many atrocities. The Graven Starved chapter, led by Captain Hol Boloth, overran Uranic arcology and ritually sacrificed all captured defenders. The shelter of CV427 / Praxor and its 300,000 inhabitants were completely destroyed when cultists infiltrated it and detonated atomic warheads. Dark Apostle Malak Koroth sacrificed his own comrades. Fenedrel fell, and the last remnants of his forces, as part of a trap to lure Remus Venetus out of one of the main arcologies, hoping to detonate a virus bomb inside of it. Venetus stopped the detonation and slayed the demon spawn turned Paul Beloth. Korath and his virus bomb being pitched into the warp rift that he himself had opened, stopping the attempted genocide of the remaining Ultramarines and Loyalist survivors. However, Koth didn't die, as he was just transformed into a demon prince for all of his deeds.
That's nice.
Huzzah!
Yeah, and the word bearers being the ones that this stuff keeps happening to. Well, them and Typhon. Typhon got his third blister. That important third blister.
So I remember seeing a picture someplace, and I can't find it, of the Ultramarines in like a variant armor color. It was specifically for the Battle of Calth, and it was like black or something, or dark gray, or
they've got a like dark gray, beige, white. I would say. I can't remember what it's for.
It came out as a specific GW product that was like the Battle of Calth. and they had a variant paint scheme,
Yeah, it's in the box set.
and I can't find it.
I know what you're talking about. It's a specific veteran unit, and I cannot
Yes.
remember their name for the life
And
of
it's
me.
a very cool paint scheme. Yeah, it's veterans of the battle.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I want to say it was like an off-white beige, if I'm recalling correctly. I could be wrong, but that's what's in my mind for some reason.
I thought it was something like dark, but I can't remember. I was like, those are Ultramarines?
Right. There's some really cool Heresy pattern armor. Speaking of Heresy pattern, one of my favorite things about Heresy pattern armor, if I can tangent for a second, is the fact that a lot of it is a little bit more like knightly. Like it has a little bit more Space Knight flavor to it. I know that, like obviously traditionally, or not traditionally, I know obviously now Space Marines are 100% Space Knights. Like that's the entire point. So a lot of the armor, even in modern like Primaris line, carries things that are directly just from like plate armor. One of the things is the tilt shields, the jousting specific shields, like that are on their armor for some reason. Literally jousting targets for the tournament game of jousting are on Space Marine armor for no reason, because they don't joust each other. But I get that kind of carries over, but the Crusaders, specifically the Crusader era armor with the like really, really Teutonic knight looking helmets, I've always thought were really cool. The other thing that's really cool is all of the Roman influences that it hit all of the legions. I know that it kind of started as an Ultramarine thing, but I'm a real big fan of all of the horse hair tufts.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why.
This is why I like Perturabo's armor,
because there's none of that stuff on it.
Well, no, because it has the Teutonic Knight sort of stuff.
Yeah,
right?
he's got the Teutonic Knight
He's
helm.
got he's got the Gorget and stuff like that as well.
Yep.
You know, it's very traditional, sort of like knight armor stuff.
There's not a lot of gorgets, and yeah, that's a really good point. There's a Death Watch line of minis that all has gorgets on their armor, which a lot of people seek out to do like kit bashes for. Anyway, but tangent over. One of the things I like about Heresy and Crusader era armor is just that sort of stuff. Was it Mark III? Somebody help. Chac, is it Mark III, Mark IV?
No, I think you're right. 3 is Heresy armor.
Mark III is the Mark III is the Crusader armor.
Mark IV is Heresy.
Mark IV is the stuff that they sort of like has all the magnetic bolts on, because it's like scrap armor that they're putting together from all sorts of stuff.
And when did Beaks?
Mark V is the beakies.
Okay, Mark V is beakies.
Then Mark VI is the eagle pattern, which is the more modern pattern.
I really like beakies. I realize that like a lot of people, beakies are a thing you either love or hate.
I think they're cute.
I think they're cool. They've got a look.
I've come around on them. Let's say that.
I have so many at this point.
I like the Mark III because they look much more brutal. And because it was developed to fight the squats in the tunnels, in the sort of the asteroid tunnels.
I also like how they very specifically say that like Mark II was comically noisy and Mark III was not much better. Like that's how they describe how much noise the armor made, which I've always found amusing.
That's adorable.
So the slaughter at the Auroran Arcology. Months after the Underground War started, the Nurgle corrupted word bearers attacked the Ultramarines' 574th Company at the Auroran Arcology. The traitors corrupted Consul Chaplain and Carrion before massacring all remaining defenders and local civilians. A garbled transmission was sent out before the Auroran Arcology fell, alerting the 4th Destroyer Company of the Ultramarines 22nd chapter based at the subterranean bunkers at Asperirian Prefecture. So just to give you guys an idea, again, of how many Space Marines exist, there's about 1,000 Space Marines in a company. The 547th Company and the 22nd chapter, a chapter being 100 dudes. So we know that there are at least 547 groups of 1,000 guys.
Now, I have a really, I do not agree with you.
Well, yeah, there's
simply
a
because
big
if you look
caveat
at modern
on that.
armies, we have an 82nd Airborne. There's no 81st Airborne. There's no 80th Airborne. I think what we're talking, when you see those, they are probably delineating
like designations,
different things. Well, probably like theaters of operations,
exactly.
specialties,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
There's two caveats on that. The first caveat is that some of the company numbers come from expeditionary fleets that they were
Yeah.
founded in. However, all of the expeditionary fleets were founded sequentially. The other big caveat is just because there is a 547th company doesn't mean that the 546th company hasn't been completely destroyed,
But
which
also
is
we know
another
that
big.
none of the largest legions had like 300,000 Marines in them.
We know that some of the largest legions had up to about 500,000, but that was at one, like what you're saying, like at one time. So, and the Great Crusade, unlike the Horus Heresy, which is a relatively short period of time, the Great Crusade was like 250 years. To Chalk's point, by the time the Horus Heresy starts, there might have been, I think the Ultramarines are the ones that had close to 500,000, by the way.
Yeah.
Obviously. But there might have been 300,000 word bearers alive at that one point. But there may have been 480,000 word bearers who had died on various battlefields.
Yeah. And things could have gone. And I think the Ultramarines got close to 500,000. That was right at the end of the heresy when they were like hoovering up
everyone.
all the black shields and all. That's why they grew. And maybe part of the second legion also at one point.
And of course, all their lifespans are extraordinarily long as well, right? So they sort of
That's
kind of
true,
grow
yes.
exponentially, right? Like they're.
But
what's really weird,
but we also know that some of the battles took out hundreds of thousands of space marines.
Yes.
The Rangdun genocides took the Dark Angels from being one of the largest, if not the largest legion, to the smallest legion.
And it killed almost the entirety of 10th Company Raven Guard, which at the beginning of the conflict was like 100,000 strong.
Yeah. So lots of space marines
the numbers
died.
of dudes dying is insane in this stuff. And that was more like, I'm being tongue-in-cheeky about it, but that's like kind of more my point. Like, there are just a fuck ton of these dudes in the heresy era. There aren't any more because they all fucking died. The really interesting thing, and this is just to give you guys kind of an insight as listeners, to give you guys kind of an insight on the podcast, we're covering heresy right now, but we're all kind of researching different eras in 40K history right now for future episodes. Chac and I know, are kind of doing a little bit of the Beast Arises right now. And by the time of the Beasts Arising, which is M32, so it's like 1,000 years after the heresy, there are not that many veterans from the heresy alive and around anymore. Like, they're uncommon. 1,000 years of the scouring later, there are not that many left.
The Council of Terror is letting the Space Marines sort of die off.
Yes.
They don't see that there's a point for them anymore.
It's the era of like the second golden age of the Imperium, essentially, and they don't see a need for space. Anyway, we will get into all of those politics soon.
Have to get back to the beast.
So led by Captain Horus Heresy, the unit that's the 4th Destroyer Company of the Ultramarines 22nd chapter, set out on a rescue mission. Upon entering the arcology, the 4th Destroyer Company initially found only corpses and regular humans before being ambushed by mutated and possessed word-bearers. The findings soon devolved into close quarters combat, and the Nemesis destroyers quickly realized that the animated corpses of the 574th Company were fighting alongside the traitors. Despite heavy losses, the 4th Destroyer Company fought its way through the traitors to the former Legion Command Strategium inside the Auroran arcology. There they came face to face with the corrupted and mutated Consul Chaplain, accompanied by a retinue of living dead and the possessed. Furious at realizing Ancarion's betrayal, the Ultramarines charged. Captain Thessian sacrificed himself to kill Ancarion, allowing the 4th Destroyer Company to turn the tide of the battle and defeat the remaining traitor forces. Now under veteran Sergeant Cassian, the 4th Destroyer Company's survivors withdrew to report what had occurred in the arcology, prompting Ultramarine Central Command to destroy the arcology with atomic weapons. However, Arcarion's defection would not be the only one. As the war on Calth continued, other Ultramarines also went insane or willingly pledged themselves to the forces of chaos. joining the Wordbearers' ranks. Eventually, the Ultramarines sent relief forces to support Loyalist holdouts on Calth. In 009.M31, a contingent of Wordbearers led by Dark Apostle Kurath said overran an Ultramarine stronghold and captured Captain Voludus, attempting to use the latter for demonic possession. This plan was foiled by Sergeant Anoid Thiel, who freed Voludus before the Ultramarines killed Zed.
That's quite the plan. He's like, I'm going to kidnap my friend.
I'm going to kidnap my frenemy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's kind of weird.
Some Evil Dead shit.
It seems like an odd choice for you think that the Chaos would be more interested in like willing hosts at this point, or maybe that's part of the fun. I don't know.
I think it's part of like the word bearers' insanity. So all the word bearers here are not the word bearers known for making the best life choices. Not that any word bearers, as Emmy will tell you, are very good at making good life choices.
No.
But these are the bottom of that barrel.
They have people like Lorgar and Erebus in charge of them.
My bestest boy, Erebus.
I mean, Erebus is a complete fucking psychopath. Lorgar is in many ways a very fallible character. Lorgar is so insanely obsessed with finding the truth that he kind of allows people around him to be able to kind of, I don't know, he's very persuadable, he's convincible in his absolute quest for the truth. And I think some of the worst parts of wordbearer leadership are able to kind of psychologically take advantage of the whims of their Primarch.
Corferon can just lead him around by the nose. And Erebus
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Corferon, like I make the joke, I even made it on your post, that Erebus is my bestest boy just because I wanted to stir controversy. Erebus gets the focus, but a lot of this is Erebus and Corferon.
That's
It's
true.
both
The
of
two
them.
of them together are just bad boys.
Erebus is just the full Space Marine.
Yeah.
Corferon is no joke, but Corferon isn't necessarily 100% able to do some of the more espionage-y things that Erebus can pull off. So Erebus ends up being the guy with his hand in the cookie jar. Because
That's
essentially,
true.
if Corferon leaves his Terminator suit, he'll die. But his Terminator suit makes him an absolute badass.
That's the thing, though, is like Erebus is such a fucking evil person.
They both are.
And was fully like drinking the Dark God's Kool-Aid. Like, as Lorgar came down to, I can't even remember the name of the planet that, the desert planet that Erebus is from at this point. But like, Erebus had already at that point had that moment where he like saw his soul shattered into 4 pieces in the mirror and been like, there are 4 wolves that live inside of me. One is Nurgle, one is Khorne, one is Slanesh, and one is Colchis. Thank you. He'd had that whole like mirror episode happen already. Someone decided to put this bitch in power armor. Okay? Someone was like, what's a great idea? Is this absolute fucking psychopath of a man. We could just make this better and put him in a space knight suit and give him a bunch of cool powers. Like,
that was Lorgar, though. Lorgar was like, but he's my friend. I don't want him to die. Give him the juice.
But like, Erebus wanted to manipulate this person. Like, he saw all of Lorgar's kind of like flaws laid out and was like, I can play a game with this man. And I can kind of like gain the confidence of Lorgar.
And a lot of that goes back to the fact that Colchis' like religious, it was a very religious planet, and the religion that they followed was the Ruinous Powers. They didn't call them the Ruinous Powers because the Ruinous Powers weren't like unveiled yet. No one knew what the Ruinous Powers were.
But they did basically worship the dark gods.
100% they did.
Yeah.
It wasn't a change for them at all. Like when
and Erebus's parents were literally like, be like that kid over there. That's such a good little altar boy. Erebus strangled the kid, replicated all of his face tattoos, and was like, yeah, this is my positive role model. I'm stealing his fucking identity, mom and dad. What do you think of that? So messed up.
When we get to covering the like Primarchs and their planets in detail, the Word Bearers episodes are going to be fun.
Oh,
So much hate.
As time wore on, a few word bearers would question their situation, realizing that their own Primarch had left them to die. One of these, a legionary later known as the Anchorite, came to the conclusion that Lorgar's pact with Chaos had been a mistake and eventually surrendered to the Ultramarines. Eventually, the Ultramarines succeeded in purging all traitors from Calth. The Ultramarines' 22nd chapter proved to be instrumental in this victory, though the battle would never fully heal from the mental scars inflicted by the Battle of Calth and the Underground War. Despite their great contributions to the survival of Calth's defenders, none of the Loyalist Mechanicum Tagmata were known to have survived the Underground War. A number of traitor Ultramarines were able to escape Calth alongside fleeing word-bearers. Though the forces of chaos were purged from Calth and the planet eventually became an industrial powerhouse once more, it continued to suffer from the effects of the Horus Heresy into M42.
Yeah, Viridia, the star of the Viridia system, Viridia, is essentially like a dark sun. It just constantly fucks the planet. But Calth is a massive industrial powerhouse of the realms of Altramar, filled with hive cities underground, still producing stuff in M42. But it very much like the green jewel, in Calth was known as the green jewel of Ultramar at one point. That status is gone completely, never to return.
But guys, we are going to make Maiden Calth mean something again someday.
Right.
It probably means something now. There's probably some really staggering weapons made in Calth.
Calth is, I think, as they imagine it, a very cool planet, and these conflicts seem absolutely fucking horrifying. The notion that you have these giant cavernous
Mines of
pockets,
Moria.
yeah, like these giant, like huge, essentially just orbs underground that are then filled with people, with millions and millions of people who are contained within there, were locked in there, and all of a sudden they're like 9 foot tall, jacked up space psychopaths shooting rocket launchers at one another. Like,
right?
The last place I want to be is in an arcology when Space Marines start opening fire with bolt guns. Like, it does not sound like a good time.
Yeah.
No.
It's super intense. That vision of the future seems really neat.
Yeah. I hear. Chac, I bet you if you looked up the 22nd chapter, it's probably that. Whatever their paint job is probably what it is. And I did confirm, Olenor is moved after the Mechanicum reverse engineers the teleporta technology used to bring the attack moons. So Olenor is still Olenor at this point. It has not been destroyed or moved. That happens later. Menzoa Campaign 008.M31. Shortly after his capture of Port Maw and the Battle of the Khorney Deeps, War Master Horus became determined to destroy the defiant forge world of Mezoa. 2 previous attempts had met with defeat by the loyalist Magos of the planet, and the War Master wished not only to make an example of Mezoa, but he needed to secure his rear as part of his push towards Terra. It fell to the Iron Warriors' 114th Grand Battalion of Narek Draeger and the 78th chapter of the Alpha Legion under Attolian's score to undertake the operations. Resentment against the Alpha Legion by the Iron Warriors due to their behavior during the siege of Epsilon Stranavar 9 would hinder traders' cooperation, seeing the legions compete over resources and prestige rather than work together. Days before the traitor assault began, the Salamander's cruiser Eben Drake arrived at Mezoa, carrying the Disciples of the Flames, a mixed loyalist force commanded by Cassian Dracos. The first phase of the battle saw traitors and loyalist forces engage in a massive 9-hour void duel that resulted in heavy losses for both sides. Despite the traitors' tactical superiority, they were hampered by their fractured nature. However, they emerged victorious and began a full-scale invasion of the world below, even as the Disciples of the Flames under Dracos met with the triumvirate of Norn regents of Mezoa, working out the details of an alliance. The first wave of traitors' invasion consisted of an aerial landing by the Iron Warriors. Mezoa sent up vast projectiles of bedrock and magma from its furnaces, acting as its air defenses, which took a toll on the traitors. However, they could not maintain this as a constant bombardment, and the Iron Warriors' second wave secured a foothold. The Iron Warriors were then informed by their Alpha Legion allies that they would be met with a combined fleet-wide bombardment if they attempted to retreat the planet. With no way back, the only way was then through. A vicious loyalist counterattack lashed out to meet the Iron Warriors, who fought with a ferocity resembling the World Eaters. Narek Drygar himself slew the Imperial Fist's champion Volatus Moran.
Moran.
Excuse me?
Volatus Moran, tearing apart his corpse and causing a loyalist retreat. And with the Iron Warriors' sacrifice, the traitors had secured planetfall. So again, Iron Warriors and Imperial Fists going at it.
Just a little piece of trivia. One of the few named solar auxiliary detachments that we have in either the Age of Darkness game or in Legions Imperialis is the Lord Marshal's own, which comes from this battle, and it's from they are veterans of the Khorney Jokes, and they're all part of this battle, even though we're not going to mention them today.
Yeah. There's a lot of these books are real big, and lots of stuff happens in them. There are other people around. There are Tagmata and there are Solar Exilia.
Well,
And-
just saying there are only like, or at least there were only like 6 named solar auxiliary regiments.
Yes.
And one of them came from here.
I believe we talked about them when we covered the Khorney Deeps. Another important thing here is the Norn regents have nothing to do with the Tyranids.
Yes, they're not the Norn Queens.
Hey, what's going on here?
No. The Norn regents were named the Norn regents before the Norn emissaries and the Norn queens were a thing.
That's good, sure.
Y'all caught that Mezoa is just like, fuck it, shoot volcanoes at them, right?
Yes.
Like, his ballsy move by the Mechanicus, shoot all of the volcanoes. What, sir? You heard me.
Shoot a firework into a tornado.
Utilizing landed Stormbird's void shields to create a canopy of protection from Loyalist artillery, the traitors unloaded heavy equipment onto Mezoa. Beside Iron Warriors and Alpha Legion forces, the invasion forces also included Space Marines of more obscure origins, including the traitorous Iron Hands. The traitors used their advantage in numbers to push towards Mezoa's forces, and the consul delegatus of the Alpha Legion, Atalian Score, drove his massed auxilia into a breach while the Iron Warriors were committed wherever the enemy was strongest. The Loyalists used battle automata and solar auxilia to hold the line while the disciples of the Flames conducted raids. But the traitors kept advancing, forcing the tech priests of Mezoa to collapse entire regions of the planet's crust to bury the enemy lines and hinder progress, or use suicidal charges of tech thralls to draw the enemy into the open before obliterating both sides with blasts of magma. Over 9 days, Score committed to bloody battle on Mezoa. Wanting to claim glory on the fields of Terra, however, the ambitious commander was not content to wage an extended siege, and as a result, he rushed his attack. This is the problem with having the Alpha Legion and the Iron Warriors fight side by side. They are two very different legions. Even if they were friendly and hadn't had a spat during the Great Crusade, they fight war completely differently. Despite the protests of Narek Drygar, the remnants of the Iron Warriors' 114th Grand Battalion were committed to a massive frontal assault on the defenses of Tuchulcha-05, a key loyalist defense bastion around the main forge's spine. Despite heavy casualties, the Iron Warriors' heavy infantry maintained a steady advance until a massed loyalist assault ground it to a halt. Digging in and holding as best they could, the Iron Warriors were doomed without Alpha Legion's reinforcements. Score ignored his traitor brothers and led an assault of his legion's headhunter cohorts against the depleted defenses of the Forge Spire. The Forge basically wasted everything on the Iron Warriors and almost nothing was left in reserve, and then the Alpha Legion essentially drops into that hole. The Alpha Legion descended on the remaining battle automata before crushing it into the 50 disciples of the Norn Regent's own bodyguard, and ending up killing one of the Norn Regents during the attack. With the death of one of their triad, chaos erupted across Mezoa as war robots went haywire and Skitarii and Thalax cohorts found themselves suddenly leaderless. It was then that Dracos and his salamanders entered the fray, leading a charge of disciples and 1,000 battle automata right into the Iron Warrior's teeth. Dracos reminded Draeger that the path of honor still remained, pointing out to the Iron Warrior's commander the treachery of his Alpha Legion allies. Convinced of his coming defeat, Draeger's forces turned and added their weight to Draco's unstoppable wave. Score's remaining forces were overwhelmed and forced into a retreat back to their landing zone, and even this soon fell. The traitors then fled Mezoa in disgrace. And it's with Score limping away, badly wounded, having lost an arm to the Salamander's prophet of fire, Xiphias Jur, with Draeger and his Iron Warriors joining the Disciples of Flames, where Dragar would become a close confidant to Dracos in the future, that we will conclude part 2 of the ever-growing darkness on the horizon.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is some straight up apocalyptic shit in this one, man. Like,
Oh, yeah.
dark.
Mhm.
Like, if the darkness is on the horizon, what's this? This seems pretty fucking bleak.
All right, so the 22nd, and I just put a link up on the Discord, but the 22nd Nemesis chapter of the Ultramarines, they were specifically designed to cause fear and do as much harm as possible, not necessarily kill their enemies.
Oh,
And they were armed with bolters that were a refinement of the toxic shells developed by the word bearers.
Oh,
Not
I
the
thought
word
they were-
bearers, the Death Guard.
I thought they were
And-
going to
but
be
they-
the ones that, like, the bolt guns that fired the special shells that, like, pulled your pants down and called you a sissy.
So go
that's
if you've
what
got
the
the
Night Lords do.
yeah, there it is. So that's the picture I was talking about. So for those of you who are not Patreon members, so you're not seeing this on video, the Nemesis chapter of the Ultramarines, instead of the blue armor that you're used to with the Ultramarines, it's all black armor
With like a navy.
with
like
a
yeah.
dark navy shoulder pads, but the trim is also black. There's no like
Yeah.
They look like
there's
Death
no
Guard.
like bright trim anywhere. They're like yeah, you're talking about it being dark. Yeah.
Well, it's just it being all black with the blue shoulder pads, right? It
Yeah.
reminds me of Death Guard. Because, I mean, that's
Yeah,
inevitably
and-
what you see with Death Guard is like, here's Death Guard squad, and you can see one of them's an Ultramarine, one of them's a Blood
Death
Angel.
Watch.
Or
Death
Death
Watch.
Watch. No, not
Yeah.
Death Guard, excuse me.
But they were like, yeah, remember the destroyer squads were the ones that were like make planets dead.
Hmm.
I'm not trying to take the territory. I'm denying the
Yes.
territory to my enemy.
Yeah,
that was the way they were used. They would be like sent in to like nuclear bomb stuff. And like a lot of that happens in the underground war. We talked about like several arcologies just got nuked. The Ultramarines were like, fuck it, we're nuking it. Like that's the only we're nuking it from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
Yeah. But that was when I was like, I know that there was I know that they had a variant armor, and I thought it was really cool.
I
but-
swear there's a light blue, white, beige one too. Yeah, but that, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it more, I think that's like Tyrannic War.
Yeah. So it
That
says
have lighter armor, slightly lighter armor or something.
So, unlike other destroyer marine formations, Nemesis destroyer retained a high proportion of bolters as their primary armaments. And it says it was purported that the Nemesis destroyer's ammo was a further continuation of the development of the toxiferin munitions started by the Death Guard during the Great Crusade. However, when anybody looked into it, they were silenced.
Yeah.
Regardless of the origin, the Nemesis ammo was specifically created to ensure that they caused harrowing destruction in their enemies, so much so that the spirits of any who survived the attacks would be broken by fear.
Yeah, they're like a fear death squad. It is the Tyrannic veterans was what I was thinking of. They've got the like white shoulder pads and white helmet paint scheme.
Yeah, I like
That's
these.
That's
And these look like they'd be
These
really
are
easy to
cool.
paint. This was a whole
Yeah, right.
campaign that GW came out with. That was the
there's a
the
battle
Battle
of Calth
Underground.
box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't the Battle of Calth box. This is a different one.
Oh, it's the second. Yeah, the one of the nice things about the Horus Heresy game, the specialty game for Horus Heresy, is they've released several like themed battle boxes. Like there was a Battle of Calth one. The Underground I can't remember what the Underground campaign's called. I think it's Battle for Calth Underground War.
Fight the Underground World with the new Horus Heresy missions and Ultramarines unit. So
Yeah, I swear there was a Horus Heresy box. Point is, there's some really cool Horus Heresy battle boxes.
I actually, as much as you know on here, I'm not much for like, hot marine on marine action. The Horus Heresy, the game of Horus Heresy,
It's pretty well done.
it's really well done. And it goes back to 7th edition, and which some people hated, other people liked, but it draws in a lot of historic gamers as opposed to.
Yeah, like sci-fi war gamers.
Yeah, and there is no meta. There's no meta chasing in it.
One of the things that I've seen people kind of start to like rumble about, we try to be as timeless as possible with the podcast, but in like mid 10th, one of the things that I'm seeing people rumble about for Horus Heresy is Xenos species. I wonder if they'll ever do it. I kind of doubt they will, but who knows?
Weird.
Who knows what the future will hold? To get back to what you were saying though about the apocalyptic nature of this entire episode, Drew, they're like on Mezoa, like the Mechanicum is breaking tectonic plates to bury space marines as they're advancing. like, are you fucking kidding? You are breaking your own planet.
Well, they're throwing pieces of the planet
into space. Yeah. And then they're magma striking entire battle zones. Mezoa figured out how to weaponize volcanoes. And I feel that technology being lost is both inevitable and very sad, because obviously as soon as you figure out how to weaponize your volcanoes, that's a lot of power, but the first time you use it, it's pretty much, it's a one and done, right? Like
when you read books that have the Mechanicum or the Mechanicus in them, even the Admech now, you don't, so they're sort of comical on the, like they look sort of comical on the desk, on the desktop. They look sort of like, I always think they look a little bit like the Tusken Raiders from Star Wars, except they're
Like
wearing
the
red
Jawas.
cloaks.
Yeah.
No, not the Jawas, but the guys with the big whacking
sand
sticks.
people.
The sand
the
people.
sand people. Yeah. Okay.
With like, they've got metal bits sticking out of their masks and goggles and all that.
Yeah.
And so they look sort of comical, and they've got like the, what do you call it? The stilt sniper and all that. But when you read the books,
Sicarians,
especially when you read like Horus Heresy books, they're fucking scary.
Their technology is just like next
scary,
fucking level.
Transhuman, terrifying stuff.
Like they basically built like the Forge World of, what is it? Metallica is basically a mini Dyson sphere built around an artificial sun.
Yeah.
And to be clear, by transhuman, I'm referring to like the concept of transhumanism, which is the science fiction notion that one can like evolve past being a human by implementing certain technological changes, like cybernetics and stuff.
People are starting to go that way with they're talking about it now with biohacking, and implants.
Yeah. There's already that probably for the last 10 years, there's been a relatively huge
transhuman is different than transgendered, is basically what we're trying to say.
Yes.
Transhuman means modifying your body with bionics and
going beyond
biological.
Going beyond human.
Exceeding the physical limits that a human can. And there's some suggestion that for space travel that may be necessary, by the way.
Space Marines are transhumans.
Yes.
Essentially.
Yes, absolutely.
Not essentially.
Transhuman physiology.
They are.
They are. Yeah. That's why they have transhuman physiology as a role. Yeah, that's exactly right.
They're transhuman monsters, technically.
Yeah. Which is why I like to say, hey, let's keep the trans and the transhumanism. Let's have as many different, gender expressions in Space Marines as possible.
Absolutely.
The Mechanicum definitely leans into the existential horror of like technology. Yeah, it really does.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, if you guys want to get into contact with us about this episode or about any part of the show itself, you can do that by reaching out to us by email at underthehiveofmadness@gmail.com.
You can also find us on Discord and join the conversation about existing lore, world building, gaming, and so much more. You can also find the show on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and YouTube. Check out our website at underthehiveofmadness.com. Check out our link tree to find all sorts of links to keep up with everyone in the cast hobby progress and internet meanderings.
Help the podcast grow by liking and reviewing us wherever you get your podcast fix. Our home is on Spotify, but you can also find us on Audible, Apple, where I listen to it, CastBox, iHeartRadio, Radio Public, and more. As always, links and spellings can be found in our show notes.
Support us through Patreon at www.patreon.com/Under the Hive of Madness. Join an awesome crew of hivers like Rupert, Jack A., and Thorfinn for access to extra content and for a chance to snag some cool merch in our monthly giveaway.
Mama Kaz's Noodle House, voted the best ramen house in the Carcosan sector by Intergalactic Trucker 3 years running. Warm your gullet and sacrifice your taste buds at the altar of Mama's new Inferno Nova Hot Pot. All you can eat Liz Gizzard and fungi protein mixed with only the finest of locally sourced, ab-grown veggies. And you can wash it all down with ice-cold liters of 2 Noblars and a coat and arrogant squig ale. Only 5 credits after 3rd shift. Doing our best to be everything your mama warned you about, we are the malevolent mischief makers of rebellion, 665.66 UHMR Chemrat Radio. Reminding all of you Chemrats, hive mice, and sump ghoulies to keep those dials fixed. Right here, same ratty frequency for a dose of the same ratty-ass attitude.
In the depths of Ismouth so dim, 4-armed emperors stalk eerie and grim. Shadow hatched with razor claws so snatched, your denuded skull left with but rictus grin.
Right? That's you snap. And if you're wondering what to do when you're stuck in the Underhive, read a motherfucking book.
Don't loot the corpses.
This is Emmy with Ghosts Don't Have Morals, telling you to submit to the whims of the 4-armed emperors.
And this is Drew reminding you that Mr. Clean is just a myth and not a man, but the Emperor is real.
All right, guys, good night.